Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today, it's just a live stream tonight. That's about it. We're just gonna hang out, kind of do a live Q&A, and see how it goes tonight. I do have a few new things going on. I've got a new background, which you might see. Star Wars actually released a bunch of different backgrounds, and so that's kind of fun. That's kind of fun. Yeah, we'll give it a minute for some people to come in. But I wanted to. I get a lot of questions, and I get a lot of repeat questions, and so part of like a live Q&A, and I haven't done a live Q&A in a while. It is in two parts, really. One part is to answer your questions live, but the other thing is I like to be able to go through some of the questions from chat that maybe I have missed, or just common questions or things that I've answered already and get asked multiple times in a row. So the very first thing that I want to talk about is the number one most asked question right now, and this is a really nice question from a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys asked me, hey, do you want my code for the N1 Starfighter? Because the Chrome N1 Starfighter for Star Wars X-Wing, you had to apply. It was like a code lottery to be able to get one of those codes. I feel like my stuff is all goofy. Like, hold on a second. I gotta fix this. This is driving me crazy. Here we go. Is that better? I don't know. That doesn't matter. I need a haircut anyway, so I look like a mess up here. Look like a mess all over the place. But I think I'm going to have my wife try and give me a haircut, which should be really fun. Maybe that should be a live stream. Maybe that should be. But yeah, so, the number one question is, do I need a code? I've got a lot of private messages and all kinds of platforms, comments, emails, a ton of it. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much for thinking of me. But no, I have secured a Chrome N1 already. And so thank you. I had gotten a lot of offers, and I'm not going to accept multiple offers, so just the one is good enough. I don't want to take one from someone else that might eventually get one. And I think a big part of that was because they found out the overseas shipping was very expensive. And so that certainly had a factor in all of that. But yes, so that's like one of the first things. Also, we're going to change up the background periodically too. I'm gonna cycle through some different backgrounds here because that's always fun. Let's go to Tatooine, to Jabba's palace, right? That's fun. We'll do that. Or maybe things are gonna get a little dicey here, and we would like to escape on board the Millennium Falcon. Yeah, that's right. So that's a fun one. Another question I get asked, X-Wing related, also is very heavily, like a lot of people ask what program I'm playing on when I've been doing my battle reports lately. Because, well, a lot of people aren't familiar with it, and it looks like Tabletop Simulator. It's not. I've said, I think in every battle report so far, that it's called Fly Casual, but I don't think maybe a lot of people picked up that it's actually, that's the name of the program. So yeah, the X-Wing. So out of all the games that I cover regularly, being the big three being X-Wing, Armada, and Legion, I've been trying to kind of promote solo play options over this whole self-quarantine option. And with Armada and Legion, it's both the AI decks, and with Legion, it's been through Fly Casual, which is not something that I've developed. This is something I'm bringing awareness to, because I think a lot of people don't realize what's actually out there. So, just Google Fly Casual. It's available for free it's on GitHub. It's awesome. So that's one thing I get asked quite a bit. But yes, some people ask me about the AI decks and where you can get all of that stuff. All of that is for free. It is all available on Crabbok.com. If you go to Crabbok.com, you're going to see custom content, and there's a drop down, and you can go ahead and just go to the different things I have there. I've got a lot of different stuff. I've got different stuff for Armada. I've got a lot of stuff for Armada, and one of the reasons for that is that like for a little while it looked like Armada might have been kind of in survival mode, perhaps. So there was there was some fear that like, hey, maybe we don't get anything else for Armada, so I got creative on that. But also Legion with the AI deck. That's a really fancy AI deck right now too, so we had some extra help from that as well. But yeah, there's also a nice little fancy rules reference guide for the Legion AI deck. Maybe looking to upgrade the Armada one at the same time, or in a similar fashion. So that one's cool. By the way, if you guys haven't already checked out, I've been doing some more with the website lately. If you haven't seen Crabbok.com already, I did a nice little write-up of this really cool AI game I had last night using the Deep Space Nine expansion that I made, and as well as the AI system. And I kind of I'm working on a whole new Deep Space Nine scenario. So this was a custom scenario, really, really fun. And there's a battle report of this already live on Patreon. So if you're a patron, I think at the A-Wing tier or higher, you're going to have early access to all battle reports, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. But that's one of the things that patrons get, or I should say most battle reports. I think all of them so far, but there may be some that there may have been one or two that had to go up right away for reasons. But yeah, sometimes some things are more time sensitive than others. But yeah, so that's up right now for patrons. But there's a nice, like a little bit of a write up of it on Crabbok.com. So that's pretty cool. So I had a lot of fun with that, and of course that's using like the tabled lighting, and yeah, I'm really liking that. I see some questions coming in from the live stream, so I want to say hi to everybody who's hanging out with me tonight. So hi guys, thank you all for joining me, and thank you for your questions. As we go into answering live questions, I think it's time for a change of opportunity, change of scenery. I think I'm going to change ships for one a little more prestige, a little more crew. I'm going to let the crew of my new Star Destroyer take over while I answer some questions. Although actually, I said that. It looks like this Star Destroyer is not manned at the moment. I think we're, I know what it is. This Star Destroyer is got COVID-19, so everybody got sent home, and everybody's working from their room. This is work from the barracks. So yeah, so let's get into a couple of questions, because you guys have asked quite a few, and I thank you all so much for hanging out. Thank you for all the questions, and yeah, we're gonna have a good time tonight. Do I ever think they'll do a canon version of the Dreadnought in Armada? Well, yes, I do think. I think that's a very distinct possibility. I think it would be a huge hit, although I don't think it will be. I don't think the Rebels will have access to it. I think what they'll do is I think they'll make it for the Empire, much like it was in canon right now in Star Wars Rebels. I think you got to see it, in the finale of Star Wars Rebels as part of Thrawn's fleet, and I think that's where it will remain. I think if they do the Dreadnought, I think is a great opportunity to also bring in Captain Paleon into Star Wars Armada. So I think that's exactly what you do. I think you bring in Jalad Paleon into Star Wars Armada, and I think you bring him on board with the Dreadnought. I think it's appropriate for a multitude of reasons. For one, it matches up to the original Zahn trilogy, and it also matches up to the new inclusion of both of those ship and characters in the same episode of Star Wars Rebels. So that much is a fun one. And I think that's coming. There's definitely a future for Armada. It's probably going to stall a little bit because of COVID-19 and all this other stuff. So I think that's coming, but it's just going to be a little bit. It's going to be a little bit. All right. So let's see. Do you think what Clone War ships do you think they'll add to Star Wars Armada? All of them. All of them is the short answer. I think, there's certain ships that are absolutely critical, like must-haves, right? And I don't know the exact name of all of the Separatist ships, but There's a couple. There's like two or three like. There's basically two or three main ships per faction that you see in almost every naval battle, right? Like the Venator is you see that in just about every every space battle for the Republic. It's pretty much always Venators. And then there's like two different versions that you see a lot for the Separatists, and there's subtle variations of those, but those are the main ones that you're going to get. But I think we're definitely also going to get an acclimator, because I think they already showed an acclimator in the concept art, so I think an acclimator is also very much guaranteed. And I apologize if this stream is cutting in and out. We're having some bandwidth issues, I guess, today or something like that. It's I have Spectrum as my internet service provider, and they have been kind of hit or miss this whole entire outage due to so many more people working from home, so many more people playing online games. That's just one of the things that kind of struggles. The internet goes out multiple times a day, so that's kind of a problem. So let's see here. We've got other. Yeah. All right. Let's see. I'm sorry about the intermittent lag, everybody. Yeah, I'm not able to do a whole lot about that at the moment, unfortunately. Let's see. All right. So I want to get. I'm going to go back and forth between some comments from the chat and some comments from you guys that were basically left out of some of the other stuff. So a lot of people were asking me about ISDs or reprints in general. I'm going to do a more thorough video of that for Star Wars Armada specific question. But the short answer right now is to just keep waiting. Unfortunately, everybody's waiting for a lot of stuff, and there's going to be a domino effect from all of these delays, and it's also going to hit reprints. But once Clone Wars comes out, I think reprints are going to get a much stronger priority, and I think you'll be able to get what you need. So next year should be a really good year for Armada, and that includes getting reprints of old stuff. All right, so some people have asked me about Vassal. A lot of people have asked me about Vassal, and let's see. I think the problem is I still have 2 minutes left on another upload, something that's uploading right now that I probably shouldn't have live streamed until it was finished. So let me see if I can pause this. I don't know if I can right now, but yeah, all right. I guess I'll just have to. It's going to get better here shortly. But yeah, so a lot of people have asked me about Vassal and asked me about like Tabletop Simulator and a lot of stuff like that. I am not a big fan of those platforms. I've tried Vassal once. I've used Tabletop Simulator 2 or 3 times. Not a big fan of either. I found Vassal extremely cumbersome and difficult to work with. I know that if I would have simply spent more time working on it, I'm sure I could have figured it out. But since I have the AI system, I would generally just rather do that or play against you guys. There's a live stream coming up this weekend where I'm going to be playing Armada against you guys, the viewers. So that is coming, and so stay tuned for that. I think that's going to be either Friday or Saturday night. I think we're going to go with. I think we're going to make it. I don't know which is better, to be honest. I think Friday night makes more sense. So I think we're going to shoot for Friday night for the Armada live stream against the community. Probably at about 8:30, about 8:30 Eastern. Looking to start there. Maybe we'll be going from there. I've already done a video talking about the list that's going to be flown. It's an MC-80 Akbar list. And I'm probably going to be running a Superstar Destroyer of some type, and we'll go from there. And you guys will pick the commands and then the choices, and I'll be rolling the dice, and we'll go that way. So that'll all be run through the chat. So that's going to be really fun. Thank you for the comments on the backgrounds too. By the way, they are all available from StarWars.com. They released a whole bunch of them. let's change it up again here, and then I'm going to. Oh, there's a bunch of Hoth backgrounds. Let's see. Let's try this one. Yeah, I like that. All right. So that's fun. That's a fun one. All right. So, oh, good. I think all right. So the lag should be clearing up. Let me know if how we're doing for lag right now. So I think that's good. I'm going to get back into questions now. So, all right. Let's see. What do I think about Gideon Hask's card for Legion? Oh, like let me look up which one, because I would get Hask and Del Miko confused. Hask is the leader, isn't he? And Del Miko's the sniper. I think I like Del Miko more. But yeah, I'm gonna pull them both up so I can get a look at it here. Let's see here. Let's pull up Hask and Miko, and maybe I can pull them into the. That's an idea. That's an idea. Maybe I'll you know what? I'll get them both. And no, I'm not gonna do that. That's actually gonna be a pain in the butt. Okay, so Miko is range 1 to 5, heavy weapon with 2 black dice and high velocity, and he can repair also, which is awesome, and lethal 1. Del Miko is awesome, and I love that because he can go in snowtroopers, so I think that's awesome. But Gideon Hask was the question. He's 2 red, he's 1 to 3. He's also leader, but does not increase your courage. Oh, yeah, no, he does increase your courage. I'm sorry, he does. And he also gains coordinate, which is quite nice. I think he's fantastic. I think that's a really good option. Coordinate is going to be really helpful if you're running aggressive tactics, so you can get your troopers some stormtroopers, or your red defense dice some defensive surge, which not a lot of Imperials have. So I like coordinate in that case. But the bigger aspect is the courage, the solid attack, the 2 health. I think that's great. I think it's really cool. So I'm looking forward to. But I'm also really curious how this is going to impact the leader rule, because what happens if he gets scoped? What if just the leader is viewable and nobody else is? I kill Gideon Hask. Somebody else in the unit has to become Gideon Hask. Do they now also have 2 health? My guess is they're going to become a version of Gideon Hask with only 1 health remaining. That's my guess. Yeah, but that's wild. So I'm really curious how all of that is going to work. I think that's what they're going to have to do. Like anytime a miniature changes, from one to another, or gets resurrected or something like that, or whatever, it's going to have to just be 1 health remaining. That's what I think. Okay. Is the lag gone, by the way? You guys still getting any lag, or are we pretty good here? It looks like it's. Some people are saying that the lag is gone, so that's good. Yes. All right. So I missed a couple of questions. I'm scrolling up. I see a lot of stuff about this, the lag and stuff like that. I apologize. It looks like it's gone now. Let's see. What do I think of Rosario Dawson being cast as Ahsoka Tano for The Mandalorian Season 2? Well, first thing I'm going to tell you is that's not confirmed. I mean, it's kind of confirmed, but that's not officially announced by Disney, so it might not happen. The only reason I say that is apparently the Obi-Wan series was confirmed like 5 years ago, and just because it's a solid rumor, that could mean that it was talked about and kind of confirmed, but maybe she's not even going to show up. Maybe her scene gets cut. It's not official until it's official. Now, let's just say hypothetically, it does actually happen, and it becomes more than just a rumor. I initially had some concerns. First off, I love Rosario Dawson. I think she's a very strong actress. I think she's got a great voice. I think she's very strong. I think she's very fit. I think she's capable of playing like an action character. She was obviously in a lot of the Marvel, like Daredevil universe kind of stuff. So I think she's definitely good for a lot of that stuff. and she's beautiful too. I think she's gorgeous. So I don't think that that's required for the role of Ahsoka, because you're gonna be in heavy makeup and prosthetics and stuff. So but all of those things add up to the fact that I'm a big fan of Rosario Dawson. She's also got a good singing voice too, but. She also seems like she could pull off Ahsoka. There's been a lot of fan art and stuff like that, kind of doing that, and we know that she's a fan, and so like a lot of it adds up. But the fact that her voice is different than Ashley Eckstein's voice is kind of like, all right, well, how's this going to work? And I think it's going to be, just simply put, she's going to have a different voice, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't really think that there's anything wrong with her just having a different voice for live action than she does for animated. As certainly that has been the case for just about every other character. You don't have Hayden Christensen voicing Anakin in the Clone Wars, right? It's a different voice, and it's noticeably different, especially I think it's noticeably different. So yeah, I have no problem. No problem at all with Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka. I had thought initially that maybe they'd consider having Ashley voice her, but that's really going to restrict you on how you can really put her in. And I'd just rather just not unless you're just going to have her like saying one thing over a hologram. Then there's no real need to do that. And also, if that's the case, then there's no real need to bring in Rosario Dawson. I think she's going to, if she does come in. She's going to have significant screen time, and she'll be doing the voice. And I eagerly look forward to it, because even if it ends up disappointing fans or whatever, I'm still happy to have more Star Wars. I'm still happy to have Ahsoka on screen. It's all very exciting stuff. So I think that's great. All right, so let's see. We got some more questions in here. Let's see what we've got. Let's look at some more. Do I think Cad Bane is going to be a good operative for the Separatists? We haven't had Cad Bane fully spoiled yet, and we kind of got that French version, and that one explosives pip or that one command card he's got where you can put down like one bomb, or if you don't put Cad Bane on the map ever, you can put 3 bombs down or something like that. That one just sounds so weird to me. I wonder if we're not, if there's more to that card than we're actually understanding through the preview. Because, like, I just can't wrap my head around spending over 100 points or so on Cad Bane and then just saying, you know what, I'm not going to play him this game. Like, that's so weird, right? Like, is that worth it? Just to put a couple of mines down that your opponent may or may not go. Like, I that's just so different to me. And I suppose it's kind of cool, but I have a hard time wrapping my head around it until I actually see it. So I'm not sure. But Cad Bane seems like he'll be interesting. I don't run a lot of bounty hunters. And so I'm not really a big fan of bounty hunters in Legion. Not that I don't want them all. I mean, of course, I want them all to come because I know a lot of people love them, and I enjoy painting them and all of that. But I just don't usually run them in my games. All right. Do you think Ahsoka will be a Force ghost in The Mandalorian? No. I don't think so at all. I mean, The Mandalorian is only like, what, a year or two after Return of the Jedi? 5 years after? It's not very long after Return of the Jedi. And we saw Ahsoka at the end of Rebels, which was also after Return of the Jedi. So that would mean you get this, kind of, you get this animated look at Ahsoka, and then she dies like immediately after that? No, not at all. I don't think it makes much sense to have a Force ghost show up anyway, unless, of course, they make the Mandalorian Force sensitive. And I don't think they'll do that. I don't think there's enough reason to do that. They certainly haven't hinted that they're going to do that. So I don't really see a reason to make the Mandalorian Force sensitive and be in a position where he needs to see Force ghosts. So no, I don't. I think Ahsoka's alive and well. She could actually be alive and well all the way up until Episode 9. Just because you heard Ahsoka's voice in Episode 9 when you were hearing other Force ghosts doesn't mean she's dead by then. Now, granted, she might be. That's a long way in the future. But no, it's not required at all. Let's see. All right. How long do you think it will be before we see more characters for Legion? Sorry, I'm really itchy right now. All right. More new announcements for Legion. That could be a little while. I think the first step is once factories and supply chains and everything starts resuming normal operation. That's when we can kind of move the timeline. Like if the whole world opened today, it would still probably be a couple of weeks before we saw anything new. Because we're gonna have to rewind back to like what, February, late February, or no, early to mid March, when everything kind of shut down. I think it was like what, March 15th or something, like when it was like official, and we were all a lot of us were social distancing before then. Like I already wasn't seeing my friends before everything completely stopped, and so like I feel like I've been in quarantine for like 2 months. I think it's only been like 6 weeks officially, but a lot of us were doing it for like a week or two beforehand. But go back that far, and that's kind of not long after we had the last like wave of Legion spoils with the Staps and stuff like that. So I think we've probably got at least 2 months from today before we get a brand new spoilery article for Legion. It might not be until Gen Con, because it's getting close to May. Cue Justin Bieber meme. Not Justin Bieber meme. Wow. Justin Timberlake meme. It's going to be May. Very big difference between those two. But yeah, it's getting close to being May, and once we're in May, then you've got June and then July is when Gen Con is, the end of July. But that's when Gen Con starts. So you've got not much time before Gen Con would be hitting, when they announce all their big stuff. So I think the next wave of announcements is going to happen at Gen Con, or at least July 29th? Is that it? July 30th. I think July 30th is when we're going to get our big no, the 29th, right? The in-flight brief, they usually have the Wednesday before the con starts, right? Yeah, the 29th. So I think July 29th is when we're going to get our big amount of news. I have a feeling Clone Wars for Armada is going to be announced July 29th. I've been trying to get more Clone Wars Armada information. I think it's possible with X-Wing's big pushback. I think we're not going to see. I think the X-Wing's push back till September for the next wave. So I don't, so that'll probably be, if this is all assuming Gen Con happens, probably be a Gen Con early pre-sale, and on top of that, probably be, the next wave of X-Wing also gets announced at the in-flight brief at Gen Con. So that's kind of what I think as far as future stuff. I don't think we're gonna get a whole lot of news. I think the news cycle for our existing games between now and then, when it does kind of pick up, because it's been pretty slow lately, is going to consist of preview articles for the things we already know, as well as more community written articles. We've seen a little bit of that with Legion lately. A lot of like, hey, this person is from the community, let's have them write an article, and so on and so forth. All right, let's see. Do you think the Separatists, with what they have currently and coming out, will be a competitive last year? Do you think it's going to be the lowest army in Legion? That's a tough one. I don't play like in Tabletop Simulator, and I haven't played the AAT yet, since I don't have my AAT yet. Everybody has an AAT right now, and because apparently I made the mistake of pre-ordering from Fantasy Flight Games, and that means I'm going to be the very last person to get an AAT. So I have no idea how they actually play. I mean, I have an idea, but I think the Separatists will have a niche. I think that tank is going to be really good at stopping certain units. I think they're going to be really, really good at stopping Jedi. So your Operative Luke, Operative Vader, Commander Luke, Commander Vader, that sort of thing. I think they're going to do really well because of that velocity, that high velocity. You can't spend dodge tokens, which means you can't get your surge to defense for that entire attack. So that means you're really going to take some damage if one of those things shoots you. It might not one shot like a Luke Skywalker, but it might, but it could, and that's kind of scary. That's pretty scary. Wait, somebody asked me about Marvel Crisis. Have you tried Marvel Crisis Protocol yet? Great question. Yes, I have. I have a tutorial on how to play. I've got lots of Marvel Crisis Protocol videos, and even battle reports, or at least one battle report. Usually, when I'm playing Marvel Crisis Protocol, though, it's casual. That's like a game I don't usually record my stuff with that because it's something I only play once in a while, and there's sometimes I'm playing with people who've never played before, and not everybody wants to be recorded on a battle report for Marvel Crisis Protocol. Let's see. When do you think we will get AT-STs in Legion, or do you think we will? That's another great question. Yeah, absolutely. I think we absolutely will. It might be a while. It might be a while before we get AT-STs in Legion because it's so huge, right? I think AT-STs could probably come in at a time when we're looking at getting other really big things like a Juggernaut or Lats. I think the Republic has more really, really big things. But yeah, I think that's definitely possible. It'd be fun to see other things like that show up, other really big things show up for different factions also, like big landing craft for the Separatists and things like that. I just don't know when. I think something like that's already in the pipe, though. Andrew Navarro, before he left Fantasy Flight, didn't ask me anything, and that was one of the questions, and he seemed very optimistic about it, but he did kind of hint that if they did something that big, they may have to change the scale. So there's that. Let's change our scenery a little bit. Let's go to War Room. Bum, bum. I like this. I like it. All right. So what's going on, everybody? All right. So thank you for all the. By the way, thank you guys for hanging out. I definitely appreciate that. All right. So let's see here. Oh, are we still live? I'm wondering if we're still live. It looks like we're still live. On my control room, it's telling me that my stream stopped. So I'm either having some kind of bug in YouTube right now, or things are still going normal. All right, but yeah, I'm still seeing chat. So I think we're gonna keep going. So that's good. But yeah. All right. So yeah, it cut out for a second. Thank you. Yeah. That's very, very strange. Let's refresh all of this. All right, we're gonna see. We're gonna see if it's still going. All right, good. Okay, so yeah, I think there was a hiccup in the stream, so it looks like we're back. And all right, let me see. I probably missed a couple of questions. There's a lot of stuff in here. I'll do a couple more. We'll keep going for a little while. And you guys too that are watching me, like, what are you guys playing? What are you guys doing to keep busy, to stay sane during this time? I was doing some Jackbox streams for a while, so I'm curious how many of you guys were playing the Jackbox games. Those were a lot of fun for me, but I think a lot of people did not appreciate like non-Star Wars content on my channel, and I can understand that. I might look at setting up like a side channel to just stream like video games or interactive games with you guys and stuff like that. I might look at doing something like that. That might be more agreeable. I just feel like I might not reach anybody that way, and so it's like, well, what's the point of streaming Jackbox when you don't have anybody joining? So that's kind of like it's like a toss up. It's a really kind of a tough conundrum, because sometimes you want to make off-brand stuff. Like I played guitar the other day. I put on a little live concert, and I lost a whole bunch of subscribers that day too, because apparently a lot of people do not want me to do anything that's not Star Wars. So it's just a strange thing. All right. So let's see here. Let's see. All right, I missed something. I missed some questions here. Let's see. Nick, no, I think I answered your question. We were talking about Crisis Protocol. Okay. I'm trying to see what else. Um, do I think Crisis Protocol pairs well with Legion? They're completely different games. Totally, totally different games. Now, they do have some things in common in that they are both miniatures games. They're close to the same scale, which means you can share a lot of terrain between them. Although a lot of the terrain might seem kind of off-putting because for the most part, Crisis Protocol is kind of meant to be played in like New York City, and Star Wars Legion is played all in these Star Wars locations. So, but there's some crossover that I have found. There's a lot of places that look like they're familiar, like my Naboo table seems to do very well if I double it up for Asgard. So I can kind of thematically justify whatever I want, but it doesn't really matter. It all depends on if you want to do that. But they play very, very differently. Crisis Protocol is a lot more of a gateway game. It's a very simpler rule set. It's very clean and simple and easier. And while there's also a lot of strategy to it, it's not as much of a miniature wargaming game that Legion is. It's very, very straightforward. Like, characters might as well be flat because all that really matters. Well, I guess Legion's kind of becoming a little bit like that too. But for Crisis Protocol, like there's no like line of sight is only measured from base to base. So like the miniatures like are just decorative, and so it's more like a board game, right? I mean, it's not. It's still a miniatures game, but it's it's got less of a like 40K kind of miniature wargaming kind of feel, and more like a board game kind of feel. Along closer to that on the spectrum. But I still think it's very, very fun, and I do sometimes really like its simplicity because you can play a game a lot quicker, and that is awesome. Also, Legion is 6x3 for a standard game, whereas Crisis Protocol is strictly 3x3. Of course, you can certainly run skirmish for Legion. But no, I really, really like Crisis Protocol. I wish more people played because that's a game I would love to play a lot. But I don't want to get like competitive, and like I don't want to go to Crisis Protocol tournaments. That's just like a fun one to play, when you're just like, hey, let's just do something fun and wacky. Like, oh, I want to build a team and put bad guys and good guys on the same team. So like it's really fun that way. All right. Bishop Tull says, I'm just getting into playing Star Wars Legion thanks to your channel. Could you update your how to play Star Wars Legion? Well, yeah, I probably could. I don't know if my how to play Star Wars Legion is incorrect, though. I mean, I'm not sure. I'll have to probably look into that one a little bit more because I'm not sure off the top of my head how I would update it, unless I was just going to like maybe increase the production quality a little bit, and but yeah, I mean that's something that I could certainly look at doing. But I mean, I don't know if it's like I think that's still a valid video, though. I think some games I have had to update the how to play on. I haven't actually done an updated one. I think if I'm going to do an updated how to play, to be perfectly honest with you, it's going to be for a game that I don't have an up-to-date one on, like X-Wing. My last how to play for X-Wing was when it was in first edition. It's totally different now. So I could probably do a how to play for X-Wing second edition, or there's certain board games that I really am looking to promote right now too, like Nemesis, which is like one of my favorite games of all time. I had said I was going to do a how to play for Nemesis, and I probably need to do that, which is so fun too. If you guys haven't played Nemesis, it's coming back to Kickstarter. I'm definitely going to be promoting that, and not really for any reason other than just I love it, and I want you guys to have a chance to get in on this Kickstarter because it's amazing. All right, let's see. I got some more comments in the backdrop. Thank you. Speaking of backdrop, that reminds me. Let's try something. Let's try something else. What is this one? Wait, no, I don't think I've done that one. Try this one. Let's try that. Asteroids. Okay, we're gonna cycle through a couple. We got asteroids. We've got this one. I think is Coruscant. Yes, this one is Coruscant. Okay, I like the Coruscant background, but if somebody coming in right now wouldn't know. Oh, this one's evil. Evil. There we go. That's the Sith throne, right? The Sith Eternal throne. Curious what you guys think of the sequel trilogy, by the way. and I know there's a lot of mixed feelings on it. I have mixed feelings myself, but it's still cool. Like I'm still fine with it. I'm still happy to have Star Wars, and it's fine. Whatever. It's not my favorite, but it's still cool. There's still enjoyable stuff. So and I'm sure I will probably look at it differently in like 20 years. Because the prequels right now are near and dear to my heart, and a lot of it has to do with all the other stuff that's been built up around them. Let's see. What do I think the first stuff to drop for Clone Wars Armada? I think I kind of already talked about that a little bit earlier. I don't think I said the first thing specifically, but there was an acclimator in the concept art, and I think that's coming early. I don't know if it'll be the first thing. I feel like I don't think they're going to do a Venator as the first thing that comes for the Republic. I don't think they're going to do a Venator first. Primarily because the same reason a Star Destroyer, Imperial Star Destroyer wasn't the first thing to come for Empire. A lot of people might just get, suppose, we don't even know if they're doing like a core set or how they're going to release it. But let's just assume they do a core set like Legion did with Clone Wars. If the Venator is in there, that's probably the only thing people will ever buy, because that's going to constitute 90% of naval battles. Like, I've got the Venator, that's the only ship the Republic ever uses, when there's a lot of other ships that are just one-offs, right? So it's kind of like that with the Empire. So I think they'll make a Venator an expansion, and I think they'll put something else in the core set. Acclimator makes sense. That ship they had at the very beginning of Phantom Menace that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan flew in on, and of course it's seen throughout the Clone Wars as well. With the Consular Cruiser, I could see that one being very early into the life cycle. Plus all those stuff that has the molds already done, like Peltas and Architons and things like that. All right. Will you be making a get started what to buy for X-Wing factions? That's something I've thought about. It's so much more complicated to do those for X-Wing though right now, just because of the unique, weird position that X-Wing's in, where for a lot of people, it's simply, the advice could be just buy somebody's used collection and then get a conversion kit. You're done for super cheap. But I can't really endorse that, because I don't know what deal you're going to get from some dude on eBay in whatever month you happen to watch this. So it's, so that's something I have to take into consideration, because if I'm making buying advice, I'm making a buying advice based off of new stuff. Now, I could look at simply what's available for second edition, and that's probably what I'd have to do, with the caveat that if you can get like a big collection, just buy a conversion kit and go that way. But yeah, it probably would have to be based on just what's available now. And there's so many factions from X-Wing, it's a lot more difficult for me to give better advice, because I don't get to play X-Wing. X-Wing is one of my least played games right now. But having been playing Fly Casual a bit more, that's certainly helped. So I really like that program. It's easier to get at least practice games in. And it helps me kind of stay, I think X-Wing has become overwhelming to me over time. With 7 factions and, dozens of ships in multiple factions. There's just so much. I'm like, oh, let's play Rebels. Oh, that's right, Rebels have a TIE fighter. And I'm I forget. I've probably forgotten more ships, from X-Wing than most people have in their collection. So I have to go through everything and be like, oh, was this good again? And then I also get conflicting. The planning and design process for me to make, really good detailed X-Wing content is tricky, because it was my first miniatures game, and so much of the knowledge I have in my head is still founded in 1.0. And when I first started doing a lot of X-Wing 2.0 content, I got a ton of just errors and things totally wrong in my videos that the community, I'd be like, no, dude, that doesn't do that. That's how it was in 1.0, but here's how it is in 2.0. And there was so much of that, it kind of made me back off of X-Wing a little bit. So I'm rusty in a lot of things related to X-Wing 2.0. That's one of the reasons that I chose a primary faction of the Republic for X-Wing. And so usually when I'm playing in person, I'm playing Republic stuff because I have all the components close by. I have them in a separate bin so I can pull out Republic ships much easier than having to dig through everything else. That's another problem I have with X-Wing too, is like trying to play all the factions is a nightmare because they kept, in 2.0, they kept those cardboard chits, well, for every single pilot. And so like, oh, I'm going to be flying Kylo Ren. Okay, hold on a second. I've got 10,000 cardboard chits I have to go through. Like it's just an absolute nightmare to try and pull out stuff and fly in X-Wing 2.0. So I definitely prefer to play that digitally since I don't have to pull out all those components. So that's why I really like Fly Casual, because it allows me to do that. Because I don't think, physically, I'm probably not going to play all those other factions. Not much, at least. Maybe for like an epic game or once in a while for something that really gets set up. Like I really like that. But, and epic too. If I want them to do, I really want them to do more epic ships for X-Wing because that's so much fun. I think, kind of playing like Armada in X-Wing. Oh, we did another background change. Did you notice? Were you paying attention? Yes. We are now in a hallway in, I think we're on the Death Star. I think we're on the Death Star here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we are going to be wrapping up soon. So let's get a couple more questions in here. I know that I probably didn't answer everything. I apologize for that. Let's see. What's the most recent 3 movies were okay? You'd be curious if Disney allowed a director's cut? No, I don't think they're going to do that. The best you'll get is some deleted scenes, maybe. The audiobook for episode 9 was interesting. I don't know if you guys, any of you guys read that. That was really weird. I think it, in some cases, added more questions. Mine Mac 95. I already answered that. No, I don't think Ahsoka will be a Force ghost. She's still alive. So, all right, let's see. Cindy Rand. I'm still pretty new to Legion and was wondering ways to get better during the quarantine. Bishop. That's a good question. No, Cindy, there's a couple of ways. One thing you should do is watch all of my videos. No, but like there's a lot of podcasts out there that are talking about strategy and things like that, and stuff like that can be really helpful. If you're still trying to learn the basics of the rules, though, you got to play. You've got to be playing the game. You can play with my AI system. If you go to Crabbok.com, there's custom content. There's an AI deck you can print out. And you can sleeve the cards. If you don't want to print out the cards and use them as a deck of cards, you can just roll a die. There's 10 cards, so if you roll a 10-sided die, and then just pick which card you're going to do for that, you can do that. But also, you can play on Tabletop Simulator if you don't mind. Let's see. If you don't mind having to learn Tabletop Simulator, that's because some people have an easier time with that than other people, and I think honestly, to be perfectly non-biased, Tabletop Simulator is a magnificent program. It allows you to play so many board games. I've used it a little bit. I'm not a big fan of it though, and one of the biggest reasons for that is that I am a big fan of beautiful board games, and I really don't want to get used to playing, in-person games digitally, if I can help it, because I don't want to also develop a skill set that works. I'm really good at this game, and I'm really good at Armada and Vassal because I can, see the arcs and everything's laid out perfectly, so I can absolutely know with 100% accuracy what's going to be where and all of that stuff, and then it doesn't translate that well over to the real tabletop. I'm afraid of, losing, growing rusty on one skill set at the expense of another. So there's that. But also I miss so much that the camaraderie of sitting around a table with friends and laughing and have a good time and playing a game. Even for regular board games, and I feel like you lose a lot of that when you do it in TTS. And so there's a little part of me is if I'm gonna sit down at a computer and play a game, might as well be a video game, right? Like, might as well play like Overwatch or Hearthstone or something, or Red Dead Redemption or Jackbox even, or something like that. Like, I'd rather just wait, and then once the quarantine is over, then go play board games the way board games were meant to be played. But that's just me. Some people play more board games than I do, and then they have a harder time sacrificing that when it's not available. And so, like, I might even play some TTS before this is over. I'm just not a big fan of it. So yeah. But that's definitely one of the options. And there's Invader League going on, and a lot of people play Legion in TTS. And the work that's been done to make Legion playable in TTS is tremendous. So, like, it's great. It's just not something that I am a fan of. Big Ben, hey, thanks for being friendly at Star Wars Celebration Chicago. It was great to meet you. Well, thank you, Big Ben. I had a mixed time. I had a pretty good time at Star Wars Celebration Chicago, but I had a lot of difficulties during that whole trip also. So, but I have nothing but I have mostly very fond memories of Star Wars Celebration Chicago, and I actually would love to go back to Chicago sometime. I think next year for Adepticon, that's something I'm going to have to do. I think that's going to be mandatory. Absolute must go back to Chicago for Adepticon. Hopefully stay in the same hotel so I don't have to worry about the commute. The driving to and from the convention each way was the hardest part of that particular convention, because hours and hours of stuck in traffic. So it made my days exceedingly long. And I would have loved to have just been done working and said, hey, let's go get dinner. Boom. Let's get some Chicago pizza. Oh my God. I really want some Chicago style pizza right now. All right. Let's see. So somebody asked, when do I think The Mandalorian takes place? It takes place after Return of the Jedi. It's I think about like 5 years. 5 years after Return of the Jedi, or something like that. It's not very long after Return of the Jedi. It's closer to Jedi than it is to 7. And yeah, Ahsoka's still alive. I think he kind of hinted that Ahsoka may have still been alive during episode 9. So that she was just using the Force to communicate. That's what I think. All right. Let's see. Who do I like more, Jerjerrod or a Gate for Armada? Well, it's a difficult comparison to make because they're for two different factions. But I'll use the idea as if I was taking a whole new faction and I had access to every commander, and I had one of those two, probably Jerjerrod, because he affects a whole fleet. But I will even run him on a single ship build. Like I'll even run him on a Superstar Destroyer by itself, or mostly by itself. So I think he beats a Gate. I think so. Whereas a Gate can kind of only be run by herself. What are some good Legion podcasts? Oh, all right. There's a lot. Let's see. The Fifth Trooper, Notorious Scoundrels, the Outriders, and Stabcast. They're just but the best Legion podcast is Double Critical. That's also happens to be my Legion podcast. But yes, yeah. So if you search if you go to like Podbean is what I use. If you search for Star Wars Legion in there under podcasts, you probably find quite a few. And there's different for different things. Like Notorious Scoundrels is very like competitive based, and so that might be a little bit much for somebody just starting out. And whereas Fifth Trooper is a little bit more relaxed but they're trying to branch out a little bit more, and they're trying to do more other things as well. And so they are maybe drifting away from being just strictly, Legion. Stabcast is, and I'm on a show, an RPG show with a couple of guys from them, and they're pretty good. I have only listened to a little bit of them so far. Outriders are kind of a good kind of blend of, they're looking at things from the competitive meta, but they're not like super ultra competitive themselves. So I feel like that's a good kind of balance on how you want to look at stuff. The Double Critical podcast is a whole different approach to Star Wars Legion, and it's generally looking at Legion, kind of thinking, what do we want to see next? You know, a lot of people always ask me, like, hey, what do you think the next thing we're going to get for Legion is? So Double Critical is kind of like saying, what do we want to see show up in Legion? Talking about that for like an hour to an hour and a half, and talking about, you know, not only what do we want to see, but how do we want to see it, and what are some reasonable ways that it could be done, you know. And we have a variety of topics that we talk about with that. The first one was like different ways to use dice, like with Surge, for example. Like we have Surge to crit or Surge to hit, but what if we had Surge to something else, like a double critical? Like a Surge could be, you know, count for 2 damage instead of 1. And you know, and what are some good units that would work on, and things like that. So you know, like that was one. It's more of a fun based way to look at things in Star Wars Legion. And we looked at different upgrade type of expansions that we'd like. We've looked at terrain. We've looked at a lot of stuff. We're actually going to be going through the films, and there was a vote put up on Patreon. And so you'll have to stay tuned to see the first film that we cover. And it's the idea of rewatching a film, or myself and Sean rewatch a film, and we then come back and talk about Legion from the standpoint of this film. Like, hey, what from this movie do we want to see in Legion? After watching this movie, what did it make me want in Star Wars Legion, and things like that. So that's kind of cool. What happened to the Legion paint sets? Well, the first ones came out. The Clone Wars ones I don't think came out yet, because everything is delayed. All new product is delayed until like late May. So yeah, that's what's going on right now with that. Do you have any tips for someone trying to get into Armada while trying to get someone else into Armada? It sounds like you want to start playing Armada, and you also want a friend to start playing Armada. Well, buy some ships and get to flying. You know, I think I have a pretty good how to play video for Armada. And yeah, you didn't get them in Australia. The basic paint sets. I mean, I don't think you're really missing out on anything, to be honest with you. You know, they're Army Painter paints, and some people like them, some people don't. I don't really have an opinion, because I don't have any Army Painter paints. I've heard mixed reviews on them. I happen to like Vallejo very, very much, so I'm going to probably be sticking with Vallejo for a little while, but I've used some Citadel paints, and I've used some Green Stuff World paints, and those are all pretty good too. But yeah, so, all right. Well, with that, I think I got a kid having a nightmare, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I got some more videos coming up soon, and be sure to check out the Patreon if you're interested in supporting the channel. We got the early battle report going on right now for the Deep Space Nine battle for Star Wars Armada 2. That was a fun one. All right, guys, that's all I've got. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.